Welcome to our live stream. We have all gotten to get out of the office today to enjoy this beautiful weather to debut our brand new pre-emergent video. So first of all, thank you. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for tuning in, supporting the Super-Sod brand and being a part of the family. A little bit about me. My name is Chris. I've been with Super-Sod for going on 22 years now. It's hard to believe. During that time, I've done a little bit of everything, but just truly enjoyed myself. It is a great place to work, a great place to make a career up. Today we're going to talk about our #1 trick for weed control. And if you think that that is something that has to do with, late spring or summer during the middle of the growing season, you'd be wrong. This video kind of serves as a call to action that within the next 14 days is really the time where you need to be putting down a pre-emergent. It is the time to take care of those weed problems before they even become a problem. We are out here at Mike Kephart's yard. This is where we filmed the original video during the growing season. And you can look around and you can see that pre-emergent is highly effective. There is not a weed to be found out here. It is absolutely gorgeous. And it goes back to something kind of bigger than just pre-emergent. A lot of times you'll hear negative things about warm season grasses and that they do go dormant during the winter time. But look at this lawn and tell me this is not absolutely gorgeous. So you get to enjoy this golden brown color and get to put the mower up for a couple months. So I actually really appreciate a good dormant lawn that's been taken care of. This is not just something we're asking you to do as far as our call to action. This is the same thing we're doing on the farms. Our guys are working super hard to get their applications of pre-emergent out, and this will ensure that we have weed-free sod to cut all summer long. As we go through this, if there's something that's not clear, if we didn't make a lot of sense on something, or you just have questions, please post those in the comments, and I promise you somebody will get to them. And afterwards, after the video completes, we will come back to this yard and our live stream, and we will answer some questions live as well. So with that, enjoy the video. Hey, I'm Chris Roquemore with Super-Sod. Today I want to talk to you about why pre-emergent herbicide is the #1 trick for weed control in your lawn. Pre-emergents are not just what we recommend for homeowners, but they're also what we use on the farm to control weeds. There's a key difference between pre-emergent and post-emergent in that a pre-emergent actually forms a chemical barrier on the ground that prevents weed seeds from germinating. A post-emergent works opposite, in that the weed actually has to be present for it to be effective. So pre-emergents give you the option to take care of those weeds before they ever become an eyesore. There's several things that can affect the performance of pre-emergents. Namely, you have to get it watered in as soon as you apply it, or at least within 24 hours. Too much rain is also something that can really limit the protection you get from pre-emergent. Obviously, that's not something you can control, but if we have a particularly rainy season, you need to understand that your pre-emergent is not going to perform the way you thought it would. Bad timing is probably the biggest mistake we see with pre-emergents. If you wait until the weed is already there, or even if it's not visible, but the weed seed is germinated, then the pre-emergent is going to provide you no control over that weed. There are several management activities that can also limit the performance of pre-emergent, namely dethatching and aerating while you're depending on that pre-emergent for control. On the farm, we've been growing sod for over 70 years now. We've used nearly every pre-emergent you could possibly imagine. And after all that time, we really think prodiamine is the best fit for the homeowner. The trade name for that one is Barricade. Feel free to use pre-emergent herbicide on your lawn and your ornamental beds. The one thing I would say is if you plan on planting flowers by way of seed or overseeding your lawn, you do not want to use pre-emergents as they will prevent those seeds from germinating. Pre-emergents are so much easier to use than a post-emergent for several reasons, but first and foremost, they're cheaper. Take Poa annua for an example. It's a very expensive weed to control once it's established in your lawn. A pre-emergent will take care of that before it ever even becomes a problem. You got to think about how little chemical is needed to kill a plant before it gets established versus how much it takes to kill that plant once it's grown up and is established. Second reason is because they come in granular form. There are several post-emergent herbicides that come in a granular form, but not that many. But most all pre-emergents are. Granular form is so much easier to spread, and it's so much easier to get spread evenly. Pre-emergents are much more effective than post-emergents. Again, go back to Poa. It is very, very expensive and very difficult to take out of a lawn. But with a pre-emergent, you're getting rid of that weed before it ever even becomes a problem, so they are much more effective. Last thing is, a pre-emergent, if you stay on their program, will get better every single year because you're not allowing those plants to grow up and distribute more seeds into your soil bank. You're having less and less weed pressure every single year. Pre-emergents are actually a much greener option as well. First off, as we've already covered, they use a lot less chemical. And we would never recommend something for your lawn that's not safe for you and your family, but common sense says the less herbicide you have to use, the better off you're going to be. So again, pre-emergents are a much greener option for that reason. Pre-emergents create much less contact with non-target plants, especially when you take into account the spray drift you get from using a liquid post-emergent. Things like ornamental plants, rose bushes, and even vegetable gardens are not at risk by using pre-emergents. Pre-emergents are actually much safer to use as well. There is so much less exposure for you, your kids, and your pets when you're on a good pre-emergent routine. Pre-emergent should be effective for 6 to 12 weeks, and as we spoke of, a lot of that depends on how much rainfall you get during that period. We recommend a fall and a spring app, the spring app actually being a split application. September for the fall, and then again in February and April for the spring app. Ground tips are really critical for the performance of your pre-emergent. In the spring, when ground temps hit 55 degrees, that's when your weeds really become active. And it's not until the ground temp hits 65 degrees that your lawn really wakes up, and at 70 degrees, it's really in full swing and has the ability to choke out those weeds on its own. So what pre-emergents are doing is providing you that control from the 55 to the 70 degree ground temperature where the lawn is not healthy enough to choke out those weeds on its own. In the fall, it's kind of exactly opposite. You're wanting to put out pre-emergents when your ground temp hits 65 degrees, and then as it lowers down to 55 degrees and those winter weeds become more active, you need that pre-emergent to provide a window of control for you. Because pre-emergent's job is to prevent growth, you need to be cautious when using them on newly established lawns. Our guidelines are as follows. For centipede, that lawn needs to be established for 1 year. For zoysia, same thing. It needs to be established for 1 year before using pre-emergents. For fescue, our guideline is 4 months. And for Bermuda, it's 6 months. One thing you need to be aware of is if you plan on establishing a lawn by way of sod or seed within the next 3 months, you shouldn't be applying pre-emergent. So what are the alternatives to using a pre-emergent? First off, you're going to end up with a whole lot of unsightly weeds. The worst part of that is a lot of them are going to be hard to control grassy weeds. I used POA for an example before, but that's a very difficult weed to control and very expensive to get rid of. There's also going to be injury to turf grass by using post-emergent herbicides. Even if a herbicide is labeled for the variety of turf that you have, there's still going to be some injury there. You have to expect that. Also, there's the potential for injury to both ornamentals and vegetable gardens when using post-emergent herbicides that may drift away from where you actually applied them. So we've talked about how important the timing is with pre-emergents. Timing with the weather, the ground soil temperatures, and upcoming conditions. If that seems a little overwhelming to you, we have a solution for you, and it's Lawn Coach. Lawn Coach is a subscription-based program where we send you the products that you need for your lawn when you need them, and we take all that guesswork out of it for you. But there's more than just pre-emergents and fertilizers for you. We offer consultations, virtual visits, and annual soil testing that we actually go over the results with you to keep your lawn on track. So let's see how much you've learned. This pop quiz is not graded, it's just to reinforce some facts. So sit back and enjoy the game. Would your pet rather use post or pre-emergents? I promise your pet would rather you use pre-emergents. How old should a zoysia lawn be before applying pre-emergent? Your zoysia lawn really needs to be 12 months old before you apply pre-emergent. How soon should you water after applying pre-emergent? You should really try to get the irrigation running within 24 hours of applying pre-emergent. At what soil temperature do weeds become active? Your weeds are really going to get going when the soil temperature hits 55 degrees. Is it cheaper to control POA before or after it germinates? it is much cheaper to control POA and all weeds before they germinate.
Thanks for watching, everyone. It is so fun to be back on Mike's pristine lawn with you for this live stream.
You could not have picked a better day.
It couldn't be finer. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I hope you've been asking questions in chat, and you've been interacting with Claire and Haley and Drew, and they are part of our lawn coach team, and they've been enjoying chatting with you, and we've got some questions that we're going to answer live now. So I'm going to put Chris on the spot for him to answer these live.
Go easy on me.
Okay, I'll try.
Okay.
First, let's start with a basic question. We're talking about 007, pre-emergent, and 1648 are the two types we have. We're wondering, where are they available?
Well, first of all, they're available in all of our retail stores as well as online. So we will ship these to anybody who's watching this video for sure. We will ship those products right to your door. Also, to make it really easy on yourself, you could just subscribe to Lawn Coach, and then not only will we ship them to you, but we will ship them to you exactly when it's time to put them out. So we'll take all the guesswork out of it. Plus, we offer a bunch of services as well as annual soil testing. So that would be my suggestion.
And we've got someone wondering, they have a dormant Bermuda lawn. Should they be applying the 007 or the 1648?
Definitely 007 right now. As you can see, Bermuda lawns are dormant. They don't need the nutrition that's involved with 1648 until April. So for now, let's stick with 007 with the pre-emergent.
And 1648 would be on what type of lawn?
That would be great for a cool season grass right now. So if you have tall fescue, 1648 is a great answer.
And what about liquid form? We sell a granular, spreadable kind. People are wondering, is there a liquid available?
Yeah, there's liquids available for most herbicides and fertilizers. The problem is they are very, very difficult to apply and to apply evenly. So even if you feel like you are, I got bad news for you, you're probably not applying them evenly. We really love granular products because they do offer a little margin of error for the homeowner. Not just the homeowner, we would prefer to use granular on the farm as well. So it's just so much easier to use, so much easier to apply correctly and evenly. Not only that, with liquids, a lot of times you get staining on your concrete. Granulars can be a problem with that too, but you have the option to sweep that fertilizer off before it becomes a problem. When you're putting down liquid and it gets on your concrete, there's nothing you can do with it at that point. It's possibly going to stain.
Well, that's a pro tip that I often forget about, is after you've spread your product, to go behind and sweep it off of your sidewalk and your driveway so
Absolutely.
It doesn't stain it. That's a good one.
Yeah,
Thanks,
just a
Chris.
really good practice.
What if you don't have a spreader? Could I just toss it around?
No, you'll never get it spread evenly that way. It's just kind of a bad procedure, if you will. But what we do have is a yellow spreader and a heavy duty spreader. Both of those are available online or at our retail stores. Again, we will ship those anywhere to anybody who's watching this.
Now, we recommend for Bermuda and Centipede 12 months, and no, I said that wrong. It's Zoysia and Centipede 12 months,
Zoysia and Centipede.
Bermuda 6, Tall Fescue 4. Do they really have to wait that long?
Yeah, so what Hillary is talking about, that interval between the time you lay down the sod to when we think you should start a pre-emergent routine. And we are very conservative on those dates, and some may criticize us for that. But we really feel like that first critical time after you lay down your new lawn, like you really need to focus on root growth and not worry so much about pre-emergent. So we would strongly encourage to stick to those intervals.
How long do you need to water it in after you've spread it?
It's not so much about how long you need to water. It's within a 24-hour window. We would really appreciate that you did water it in. As far as duration of watering, as long as you're getting out about a ½ inch of water, then you're going to be in really good shape.
And that could vary between water pressure and different systems,
yeah,
so it might take longer.
So many variables. Oftentimes we get questions about how long should I run my irrigation system, and there's just so many variables as far as how big each irrigation head, how big of an area it is trying to cover, how much water pressure you have, how many different heads you have on that zone. So too many variables there. Really just test those irrigation systems and make sure that you kind of have a really good feel for what a ½ inch looks like.
Rain gauges help.
Rain gauges help, yes.
So you did touch on this, but does pre-emergent, what do you do with POA? That's a big issue in lawns.
Yeah, POA is a very difficult weed to control, especially after the fact, and it's very expensive to try to get out of using a selective herbicide. The cheap, most effective way is to use a pre-emergent to take care of that POA before it ever becomes a problem. And if you're thinking to yourself, the pre-emergent's not going to work, like just look around. There is no POA here, and Mike has stuck to our routine very, very closely, and he doesn't have any problems.
And we've looked around. We've walked this to see if we can find anything, and it's perfect.
It's perfect.
So about pets, how long should you hold them off the lawn after you spread your pre-emergent and you can let them back on?
Again, we're probably a little conservative on this, but it's your pet. Like, you love your pet. So let's give it a solid 24 hours. I just think that's best. Wouldn't let our kid go back out there before that, and certainly wouldn't let our pets either. And it's not that it's a dangerous chemical or anything like that. It's not harmful at all. We're just conservative, and we believe in keeping those pets off for 24 hours.
Just take them on a walk instead.
Yeah, it's a good excuse to take them on a walk.
So what about current weeds I see? If I'm going to see some henbit or chickweed, how can I treat it now?
Yeah, and we have some selective herbicides that can take those weeds out after the fact, and we can certainly provide those chemicals for you. Now, you will need to reach out to us because they are different for each variety of turf that you have and for each specific weed that you were trying to target. So reach out to one of our folks on the chat, and they will give you some exact kind of directions or instructions on how to take care of that. But to that, I would often say, like, take care of that weed before it becomes a problem. Stick to your pre-emergent, and you're going to have to apply way less of that those selective herbicides after the fact.
So one way to think about it is if you see the weed already, it's too late. You then need a post-emergent rather than a pre-emergent.
Yep, pre-emergents are great at preventing weed seeds from germinating, but they will not do anything for a weed that is already germinated and up and growing in your lawn.
And we get a lot of heavy rain these days. What do I do if I look at my forecast and I see some rain is coming? Should I wait? Should I irrigate? What should I do?
Yeah, so heavy rains, as we talked about in the video, will greatly reduce the efficacy of pre-emergence. So if you see a big system moving through within a day or two or even a couple days before you put out your pre-emergent, my recommendation would be just to wait. And there's a certain risk that comes with that, but I think it's well worth it, and it beats putting out pre-emergent and having it completely gone, and then you think you're relying on this protection that you don't actually have.
Understood. So let's talk about time of year. That can be a little confusing too. So you can spray a post-emergent when you see the weed. What are the windows for applying pre-emergent for when weeds are germinating?
So here in the Southeast, we really like to split the application in the spring. We like to put some out in February now. Middle of February is best, and then again in April. With the April application, we will add in a little nutrition for your growing lawn then, so we will use a 16-4-8, and then we will go back to the 007 in September, where suddenly lawn nutrition isn't that big of a deal because the warm season grasses are winding down. Now, talking about I get stuck on warm season grasses, but tall fescue is an issue too. On that one, it's going to need nutrition at different times of year, opposite of what warm season grasses are.
And that kind of ties in with POA. When you see it now in winter, it should have been spread in the September schedule.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And another question, unless Nina has some more to hand me, is what do you do how do you prevent weeds if you have new sod that you've laid down or about to lay down?
Yeah, the best thing you can do for that is just do a really, really good install. Make sure those seams are really tight, because that's where you're going to get your weed pressure on that first year. So the seams between the rolls need to be super, super tight to hopefully choke those weeds out and they never become a problem. And then something that's often overlooked is just hand picking weeds. If you just have a handful, like get out on a beautiful day like today, enjoy the sunshine, get some exercise in, and just hand pull those weeds. It is more gratifying than you can possibly imagine when you can back up and see what you've accomplished right then. So never underestimate just hand weeding.
I agree. Good time to listen to a podcast, talk to your family, or not, get some alone time. I like the alone time part. So about applying other products at the same time, someone needs to apply lime as well. They're wondering what order, lime and pre-emergent, if it can be done at the same time or one before the other?
I think it's good practice to always split those applications up. Something like lime, I don't see it having any problem with putting out at pre-emergent, but why not just wait? Why not split those up? So either do your lime before it's time to apply the pre-emergent or after. Make sure, because the timing of lime isn't nearly as critical, make sure you absolutely nail the timing of that pre-emergent and then get the lime either before or after, or anything else that you plan on putting out on your lawn. Just split those applications up a little bit.
How long should you wait in terms of weeks?
A week, 10 days.
A week to 10 days. Okay, cool. Another question is, if I need to seed an area of my lawn in May, can I apply pre-emergent now? I assume that would be seeding a warm season lawn in May.
Either one, really, but the answer would be no. Pre-emergents do a great job of preventing weed seeds from germinating, but they do equally as good at preventing some good seeds from germinating as well. So if you plan on seeding your lawn within the next really 6 months, I would definitely not apply pre-emergent now.
Okay. So do you have any advice on spreader settings? Like this customer has a Scott spreader.
Yeah, so there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of different spreaders out there. So we do not provide settings for all of them simply because we would never be able to keep up. They hit the market just nonstop. What we do have, and is what is better anyway, is really a good PDF on how to set up those settings to where you know you're getting it right. And you know, we could send out 10 yellow spreaders and all 10 of them might be just a little bit different. But these directions will make sure you're getting a good solid application, an even application, and putting out what you think you are. And it'll get it right every time. So go to our website and you'll find those PDF instructions.
Nina, do you have any more?
Same question about fescue and pre-emergent.
Okay, similar question to asking about seeding the warm season lawn in May is about pre-emergent and seeding a tall fescue lawn in the fall. How do you handle that?
Kind of the same thing. If you're planning on putting out any tall fescue seed within the 6 months after the pre-emergent application, I would definitely skip that one and then go back to what we talked about before as far as kind of looking that interval of when you need to apply your first application of pre-emergent after a newly laid sod lawn or a newly seeded lawn. It's the same. So 4 months. 4 months after seeding is the first time you should be applying pre-emergent for fescue.
So tall fescue, if you seed it in September, then you could hit it with this window right now.
Oh, you're going to make me do some math.
Yeah.
Like September, October, November. Yeah, you'd be good.
Okay, live math. You'd be good. Yeah. That's great. And does remind me too, one thing we discussed earlier was mowing, how good it is at least arresting that weed population. So mowing a dormant lawn, mowing your tall fescue to keep those weeds from going to seed again and your population increasing.
Yeah, it's the most underrated form of lawn care is mowing. It does so many good things for you. First of all, weeds don't stand up to mowing nearly as good as turf. Turf actually wants to be mowed. It wants to be kept at a certain height. Weeds do not. They want to get out ahead and grow. By mowing them, you get rid of a whole lot more weed pressure than you even realize. The second thing is by mowing, you're keeping those weeds from actually ever producing weed seeds. So the worst, like for poana, that's what we keep going back to. The worst thing you could do for poana is let it seed out. And then all those seeds that you see forming, those thousands of little white seeds, that's going to be your problem next year. So by getting rid of it, by mowing it, is just a really, really good policy. And, you know, obviously it's not an issue out here, but if you're having to mow your dormant lawn and because you got poana and your neighbor looks at you like you're crazy, just ignore them. You know what you're doing. Stick to your routine and you're going to do just fine.
Nina, do we have any more? Yes.
This is a long one. She's writing for a long,
furiously writing.
I'm scared.
Yeah. So yeah, furiously writing. We just had 3 to 2. So it sounds like 2 to 3 inches of rain. If applied pre-emergent, do you still need to irrigate?
Oh, and they put out the pre-emergent before the rain. They put out after the rain. Yeah. So if you got mud out there, I would give it just a little bit before you irrigate it. We like that 24-hour window of getting it watered in, but if your lawn is already saturated, enjoy one of these nice sunny days, let it dry out a little bit, and then put
Yeah.
water down. But you need to get it out certainly within 3 or 4 days.
Okay, very good. I think that's a wrap. We know you've been asking questions in the chat too, and we greatly thank Claire and Haley and Drew. Couldn't do it without you. If you have further questions, we'll post this video on YouTube. You can ask your questions there and we will answer them. You can also call us at our number, I think was on a ticker below, is certainly on our website. And Chris, thank you so much for coming back out and sharing your knowledge and expertise.
Thank you, Hillary. It's been a blast.
It's been fun. Thanks, everyone.